Dreadful, dreadless woman, a terrible woman, fearless woman, who is ineffably frightening to the ruling fools. Example, Bessie Smith, 1894 to 1937, who was threatened by members of the Ku Klux Klan during one of her shows in Concord, North Carolina, July 1927. Bessie asked some stage men to help her get rid of the hooded hoods, but the stage men were terrified and fled. The following quote is from a biography. Not Bessie. She ran toward the intruders, stopped within 10 feet of them, placed one hand on her hip, shook a clenched fist at the Klansmen. What the fuck do you think you're doing? She shouted above the sound of the band. I'll get the whole damn tent out of here if I have to. You just pick up them sheets and run. The Klansmen, apparently too surprised to move, just stood there and gawked. Bessie hurled obscenities at them until they finally turned and disappeared quietly into the darkness. Forebear, four-sister of great bears and little bears. Mr. Ectomate, guaranteed solution to the contraceptive problem. Tried and true and therefore taboo birth control method, recommended by gyne ecologists, insisted upon by spinsters. Old maid, a crone who has steadfastly resisted imprisonment in the comatose state of matrimony. Survivor, spinster. Old maid of honor, any old maid. Well, dashing through this section again. I think that I will move on to word web 3. Word web 3 contains words naming the inhabitants of the foreground, their activities and characteristics as viewed from the background. Academia, normal state of persons in academia, marked by varying and progressive degrees. Irreversible deterioration of the faculties of intellect. Bibliolater, a hot air type who attempts to contain the universe within the confines of one Bible bubble. Blob, common, hideous product of modern architecture. Windowless, airless, lifeless structure which reflects the intellectual and moral depravity of its designers' owners. Blobular, having the characteristics of a blob. Blob-like and liking blobs. Example, blob hole. Bore, one who drills, penetrates, fills with ennui and depression, creating the state of boredom. Board, comma, chairman of the. Any bureaucratically appointed bore who occupies a chair, a position which enables him to bore others all the more. Borophilia, love of bores. Bull, according to Webster's Collegiate Dictionary, bull is a slang word short for bullshit, meaning empty, boastful talk. According to the Wikidictionary, bull means the most solemn and respected form of discourse under patriarchy. Examples, the Apostles' Creed, the Hippocratic Oath, the Gettysburg Address. Bull, comma, papal. Bull, of course, is the imprint of the device on the bulla, which is a blob of red ink. The most sacred form of bull, holy, 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 baloney. Christmas spirit, dispirited mood, induced by the pious propaganda and grim greed of Christo-technological society. 2, miserable mood, induced by the lyrics of omnipresent crushing Christmas carols, e.g., "O come let us adore him." Fall on your knees. Canny comment from the wild hag Diana Begin. "Oh, come let us ignore him." Cockalorum, a self-important little cock. Examples, Napoleon, Dustin Hoffman, Fiorella LaGuardia, Mickey Rooney, Andy Warhol, Mickey Mouse. Dick. According to Webster's dictionary, dick means penis, usually considered vulgar. According to the Wikidictionary, dick means the second person member of the vulgar trinity, Tom, Dick, and Harry. Dick speak, deadly diction of dicks, applied especially to official military, technological, and pornographic terminology. Examples: nuke, fuck, fallout, meltdown, gangbang, gook, scumbag. Examples also of the more, the fancier kind of dick speak. From John Donne. License my roving hands and let them go, before, behind, between, above, below. Oh, my America, my newfound land. From John Paul II. The Church, by means of the Council, did not wish to shut herself up within herself, or to refer to herself alone. On the contrary, she wanted to open herself up more widely. Drag Queen, John Paul II asked, pop patriarch of the 1980s who uses the electronic media to proclaim his love for souls. Granite-jawed, white-robed superstar who made his 1979 debut as visiting Queen of Heaven, condescending upon continent after continent in his special airplane. Champion of imprisonment in the family, fetal rights and discreet Christian gynocide, male mother of the decade. Dummy, the great Ronald Reagan. Flapper. One that flaps. According to Webster's, flapper means one that flaps, a part that hangs or droops. According to the Wikidictionary, flapper means one obsessed with his flapper, i.e., his part that hangs or droops. Example, Freud. Two, one who swings back and forth indecisively. Example, Hamlet. This can make some people very unhappy. I know, a homesick, sickened by the home, sick of the home, healthily motivated to escape the patriarchal home and family. Fundamentalist was the most revealing word. When I discovered fundamentalist, I was so happy to know. It is derived from fundament. Fundament means the part of the body on which one sits. Buttocks, anus. Webster's. According to the Wikidictionary, fundamentalist therefore means one who sermonizes from the fundament. Spreading the word. Windbag, a bibliolater, especially when affected with logorrhea. Logorrhea, of course, means diarrhea of the mouth. Sir, according to American Heritage Dictionary, has an archaic definition, meaning a gentleman of rank. According to Wikidictionary, it means a ranked gentleman. Well, I think I'll end with windbag for a second. According to the Wikidictionary, a windbag is a fellow who bellows. One afflicted with chronic logorrhea, a blathering, blatant, flagrantly flatulent fool. Example, Martin Luther, who blathered in 1531, men have broad shoulders and narrow hips, and accordingly they possess intelligence. Women have narrow shoulders and broad hips. Women ought to stay at home. The way they were created indicates this, for they have broad hips and a wide fundament to sit upon, keep house, and bear and raise children. So much for the genius, religious and otherwise, of philocracy. I'd like to return to the subject of the doomsday clock. Well, to see if you can't laugh out loud, step one is a problem if one is intimidated. Well, okay, jumping off the doomsday clock, 11, 12, 13. You know, Widdershins, of course, means counterclockwise. From my point of view, it's counterclockwise. Right. And it was the left-hand direction of pagan dances. Spinsters spin Widdershins, turning about face, and we feel an other sense of time. We begin by asking clockwise, and then move on to counter these clockwise with counterclockwise, questions that whirl the questioners beyond the boundaries of boredom into the flow of tidal time, elemental time. The mandated world is clockocracy, the society that is dead set by the clocks and calendars of fathered time. It is marked by measurements that tick off women's lifetimes, lifelines, in tidy tidbits. It is the world of dismembered time, surgically sewn together to mimic and replace tidal time. It is a society of tedious time spent under the tyranny of tidy demons, those projections, emanations of the tyrants who seek to impose tidy order, to tie women down, to stop the flow of each woman's creativity, cutting her off from her own genius, muse, demon. Clockocracy is marked by male-ordered monotony that breaks biorhythms, preparing the way for the fullness of fathered time, i.e., doomsday. The father's clocks are all doomsday clocks, meting out archetypal dead time, marking the beat of the patriarchal death march. They are measures of the young time, of the state of possession, tidy time, nuclear time, doom time. I'm talking about shrunken consciousness that makes everyone, look around, psychically numbed, marching to their beat, allowing them to destroy the planet. It would be an insult to sheep to call this sheep-like. It's like using 1% of the brain, tidied up, very tidied up. I think I have to tell you a story. I wasn't going to, but it's something that happened in 1969. I went actually to a feminist seminar in Washington, D.C. in 1969. And there was a scientist there who was called a futurist, who worked in a think tank, I believe, under Nixon. That would have been Nixon. All right. And this scientist, this futurist, told us that he was one of the most optimistic of the futurists. This was 1969. And that according to the most optimistic of the futurists, there were 20 years left of what he called the X factor. And X factor, he said, meant free will, spirit, what is commonly called spirit, free will. Okay, that was in 1969, and I have actually every year when I've been teaching, every year that I teach, I tell my students that story. Okay, you might want to think about that. Radiation disasters such as Chernobyl spread a miasma of mystery, the mystery of man, the mystery of the phallocratic pox, of patriarchy who swing and bounce from one grotesque fiasco to another. Chernobyl isn't just there, it's here. All hidden by propaganda, both grassroots and treetop. Raging, bee-laughing women, Websters, unwind the bindings that would numb us, dumb us. With eye-biting eyes we see through and name man's interconnected atrocities. His rapism, his witch crazes, his vile medical experimentation, his torture of animals, his intended annihilation of the animals, the trees, the rivers, and seas. We proclaim that the primary product of man's civilization is toxic waste, and that the patriarchy, phallocracy, fatherland is the world of wasters. It is wasteland. Where can you go now to get away from chemical dumps? Where can you drink water that isn't killing you or breathe air that isn't stifling you? Right? And eat food that isn't poisoning you? Why are we not disgusted enough? Spinsters spinning about face the fact that clockocracy and clockocracy's clocks are imitation moons. Whirling witches announce that the subject of clocks and calendars is about face. Will we face down the faceless face-saving fools who are the fathers of phallocracy, lusty women in tune with the moon pose the poignant question, is the moon's face the face that can stop the doomsday clock? The moon, in her various aspects, awakens our knowledge of gorgons, of weirds, of fates, of norns. In the face of impending disasters, these sidereal sisters draw us onward, sharing their powers. Empowered by this company, women, as gorgons, look toward these madmen and turn them to stone, the doomsday men, with their doomsday clocks whose tick-tocks mimic the rhythms of lunar time. Therefore, we tear off the blindfold from captive justice, crying that the time has come to active eyes, to see with active eyes. And this is happening, despite all the passivity, the blob, the deadness on the foreground level. Many, many, many women, I've seen this in recent months, are coming alive spiritually, psychically, elementally. It is happening. And you won't find out about it usually through the media. It is happening. Right? 13 is the symbol, the metaphor for this awakening into other dimensions of sensing, of perceiving, of acting. 13 represents the other hour, beyond the direction of disaster. It signals the presence of the other world, metamorphospheres, the true homeland of old hags, crones, furies, furries, and other friends. 13 signals spheres of macro-mutational events, where prudes explore the state of grace, where Websters see stamina as its own reward, where dragons are in our elements. Lusty, wicked women are increasingly aware that the 13th hour is the hour of the crone. The crone alone is able to clearly see that the Sado society is ruled by weak, doddering old fools whose overt and subliminal lies permeate the man-made atmosphere as insidiously as their radioactive and chemical poisons. These old fools, these snools, are the priests of patriarchal religion, government, nuclear science and industry, and all the academic fields of fatherland. Crones of all ages can say no to these men. Barbara Walker has written in her book on the crone. Most of all, the crone can represent precisely the kind of power women so desperately need today and do not have. The power to force men to do what is right for the benefit of future generations and of the earth itself. Forcing seems to be necessary. Men do not voluntarily relinquish their ego trips, war toys, and money games. Men feared the judgmental eye of the wise woman even when she was socially powerless. This, then, is the chink in the armor of patriarchal establishments. When men and women together say no and mean it, the whole structure can collapse. Walker brings her argument to a stunning conclusion. Women, who have suffered so much at the hands of patriarchal mythmakers, need no longer pretend not to understand their motives. God cannot, but woman can call man to account for his gynocidal, genocidal behavior. She had better do it soon, for he is already counting down to doomsday. But I think that it's not only her clear knowledge and memory of patriarchal evil, of suffering, that is the key to the crone's eye-biting powers. It is her ecstatic, meta-mysterious vision that makes 13 the possible dream. Such vision is grounded not only in suffering, but especially in the experience of happiness, of ecstasy, of other being, of awesome reality of oneself, outside patriarchal definitions of womanhood. The vision is grounded in the experience of living in harmony with wonder-lusting energies that beckon us further and further into from the confines of the Father's foreground. And this context of 13 spells hope, the hope of jumping off the parameters of the predator's predictability. There's something that can still save even planets doomed to disaster. And that something, that power is there. It's calling upon us now. This is an extremely important time on the background level. To come alive and to risk, to dare. What the hell would you be hanging on to? When a woman knows that she has only nothing to lose, she's very glad to lose it. So I'd like to move to, 13 is where a positively revolting hag hears her own name and finds the courage to be, to see, to live, to grieve, to rage, and to laugh out loud. And it's the time when the witch inside comes alive. The great, great original witch, the archimage within every living woman, woman who is not soul crushed, who's living, okay? And that witch I see as that voice within, that power within. It's like a smasher of archetypes. The archetypes, are those deadly images constantly projected by their media, their education, from kindergarten or day one up through PhD after PhD. That's what you get, are these stereotypes and the archetypes. Archetype is from arche, meaning origin. Type is from tupta, meaning he beats. All right, so the word is a clue that the patriarchal archetypes beat down our origins, beat down our originality, cut us into shape, cut down our great powers, our genius. And that witch within is smashing that in with her labyrinths. And I think that one can hear her if one listens. And then sometimes she growls, and sometimes she snorts, and sometimes she says in a sort of sedate way, and sometimes in a laughing way, and sometimes in an intellectual way, and sometimes in a coarse way, but always she roars. Rush with my winds, course with my waters, hug my earth, light my fire.
Thank you so much, Mary Daly. Because of the late hour, and she was unable to get here until 9, we're not going to have questions now, but you're all invited to the reception at Sloss House, and we can sit and talk, ask questions, anything you want. So thank you all for waiting, and hope to see you at the other Women's Week's events. Thank you again.